Riley Gaines, of course, the swimmer from the University of Kentucky, who tied Leah Thomas, the man swimming as a woman, in that famous race a couple of years ago. Since then, she has become an activist to try to protect women's sports. She was harangued and badgered by one of the congresswomen, Summer Lee, in this hearing. But boy, did she have the last word.
This teamwork and goal setting. In terms of mental health, studies show that participating in youth sports is associated with lower rates of anxiety and depression, lower amounts of stress, higher self-esteem and confidence.
Women must stop. Inclusion cannot be prioritized over safety and fairness. And Ranking Member Lee, if my testimony makes me transphobic, then I believe your opening monologue makes you a misogynist. Thank you.
Now, I'm sorry, I thought our clip had the first statement from Congresswoman Lee, where she said that we're going to be hearing a lot of transphobic rhetoric and hate speech and bigotry later on. And she was specifically talking about Riley Gaines, because Riley Gaines saying that this is, by the way, always use the left's language. This was Riley Gaines's lived experience. Okay, it was her truth. But it literally was. Her lived experience was she went to go to a swim meet for the NCAA championships, and she was forced to share a locker room with a man, a fully intact biological man, who, by the way, even though he identifies as a woman, this Leah Thomas is still attracted to women. Leah Thomas dates women while identifying as a trans woman. And Riley Gaines had to share a locker room and change clothes and shower with this person. And when she complained about it, she was told to go somewhere else. She was told, and Leah Thomas's teammates were told to get psychological therapy to get over their hangups. And that was called bigotry and transphobia by Summer Lee. So you just heard Riley Gaines responding to that, saying, okay, fine, if I'm transphobic, you're misogynist, which is great, because that is misogyny, right? Telling the little ladies to shut their mouth and take it. Sit in the corner. I don't want to hear from you. Here's Summer Lee's response.
Thank you, Ms. Gaines. I now recognize Ms. Perry for her opening statements.
Good afternoon, Chairman McLean, Ranking Member Lee, and distinguished members of the
Oh, sorry, we got the wrong video loaded in here, and I apologize. Summer Lee then went on to, Congresswoman Summer Lee wanted to expunge the record of Riley Gaines's remarks, right? She called me a misogynist. I want that removed from the record. Thankfully, the chairwoman refused to do so, but that's who she's dealing with. Also at this hearing, by the way, was this woman, Kim Russell. She was the lacrosse teacher, the women's lacrosse teacher at Oberlin College.
I'm Kim Russell, an ambassador for the Independent Women's Forum. Why am I here? I'm 56 years old. I'm an athlete, a coach, a mother, and a teacher, and a longtime advocate for women and girls. This has been my life and my passion. I played 2 sports at the D1 level that never would have been possible without Title IX. I've been a lacrosse coach for over 27 years. I'm in 3 halls of fame for coaching and contributing to the growth of lacrosse, and there's actually an award in my name. Oberlin College removed me from coaching and offered me an administrative position after I chose to publicly tell my story and refused to be silent or back down about my belief that men, no matter how they self-identify, should not be allowed to compete in women's sports.
Yeah, she went on to tell that story, and it's a compelling one. But understand something. Up until about a minute and a half ago in America, Kim Russell, Coach Kim, she would be celebrated as a champion for feminists, a champion for women's rights, a champion for equal rights, a champion for women's sports and the advancement of women's issues in America. And now she's fired, she's silenced, she's censored, and she's bullied and intimidated as a bigot. But again, just like in the issue with Israel and with anti-Semitism on our college campuses, take a look at which political party is standing up for Coach Kim and Riley Gaines and protecting women and women's sports, and which party is telling them to shut up and take it. In fact, here's one of them. This woman, Fatima Goss Graves, she's with the National Women's Law Center. My goodness.
And success in school sports depends on a whole range of factors, including how hard you work and coaching and access to really good resources and facilities. And trans students participate in sports for the same reason as their kids, because it is fun, because it creates belonging and community, because it teaches so much about persistence and leadership and discipline, unless they learn to lose gracefully, hopefully. And often they learn to win with dignity, hopefully. They learn to do the sort of work that means you have higher grades and stay connected to school. I want every kid to have that chance, to
Yeah.
have.
You women, you girls, just suck it up and learn how to lose gracefully. Just like the trans kids do. That's a hell of a message. Meanwhile, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, as soon as you think that she said the stupidest thing that you've ever heard from an elected official, she outdoes herself. Seriously, I think she's right up there with Kamala Harris here in terms of being president of the Mensa Club here in Washington, D.C. She's found a new angle on what's wrong with the whole transgender sports issue.
I've spent a decent amount of my time here in Congress sitting through panels and hearings of men attempting to restrict the rights of women and telling us that it's for our own good. But I want to dive a little bit more deeply into why this issue with targeting trans women in sports is particularly problematic, not just for trans girls, but for all of us. We're here today because there's a proposal here, and there are several proposals here to further marginalize trans women in sports. And I think about this all the time.
I just need to pause for a second here. I'm so confused and I'm feeling a little targeted or no, triggered, let's say. Why does she keep saying trans girls and trans women? I thought trans girls are girls. I thought trans women are women. Why draw the distinction? What's her problem? Why is she such a bigot? I'm feeling violently attacked right now, actually, by this kind of distinction where there shouldn't be one.
Because trans people in the United States doesn't even exceed 1% of our population. And yet there is so many resources and energy and time dedicated to figuring out how we can more finely exclude them from our sports.
Is that what's going on here? You know, she makes a compelling point. They're only 1% of the population. Why are we spending so much time on this? You know what? I've got a follow-up question to that. They're only 1% of our population. Why are you trying to upend every societal norm that we have lived with in Western civilization for millennia to accommodate that 1%? They're only 1% of our population, but we can no longer have exclusive men's and women's rooms. We can no longer have exclusive men's and women's locker rooms. We can no longer use he or she. They're only 1% of our population, but every single show you watch on Netflix has to have one of them in your storyline. They're only 1% of our population. Thank you. You're right. So why must we upend everything that we have set in stone in this country to accommodate that 1%? She'll never see it that way. No. Here's liberal, progressive political positions on transgenderism. They're only 1% of our population. You must now upend and change and throw out every single distinction between males and females that we have all understood for thousands of years. And if you dare to challenge it, question it, or God forbid, have a public hearing like we're having today here in Congress, you're the problem. You're the bigot. You're the transphobe, and you're wasting our time and our money because, after all, it's only 1% of the population. That's her position. And we're supposed to shut up and say, oh, yes, that's so wise of you, AOC. Oh, but it gets worse.
And I thought, why so much effort and dedication on such a tiny portion of the US population when there virtually is no major issue that is precipitating? And started to realize that a lot of these proposals here involve invasion of privacy of all women.
Ah, see, that's it. She has drilled down on the real issue here. We're just trying to invade the privacy of all women. Yeah, those of us who are trying to keep a girls' locker room where teenage girls are changing and getting ready to play their sport, we're trying to keep that as women only and not allow biological men to invade that space. We're the ones who are trying to invade women's privacy, all women, she says. And why? Well, I'm going to skip ahead here because she's going to reveal her really, really brilliant, well thought out, well educated conclusion.
You said there are some proposals. I mean, we've seen this in Ohio. There was a proposed ban on trans athletes that originally allowed for genital examinations on minors in order to quote unquote protect women. Is that correct?
All right, so this is the big thing now. That, oh, the only way you can enforce these laws is to have genital examinations on minors. Right? Right? How else are you going to know? All right, yeah, I got two answers for you on that, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez. Number one, it doesn't have to be that hard. Here's what we do. And I'm just coming up with this off the top of my head, okay, but I'm sure there's a flaw in this, but I think this will work. When a baby is born, the doctors involved in the birth of that child will take a look at that moment of the naked baby coming out of his or her mother's womb, and they will determine whether that child is a boy or a girl. And then we should have a document of some kind, some sort of official government record. Call it a certificate, let's say. A birth certificate. There you go. Again, I'm just sort of improvising here. I'm coming up with an ad lib, but I think it'll work. So you come up, you get this birth certificate, and the doctor puts whether the baby is a boy or a girl on that certificate and signs it. And then that birth certificate goes with that person, that human being that was just born for the rest of their lives. And then whatever activity they want to participate in school, when they register for school, the school says, well, can we see your birth certificate here as you register? And when they register for school, the birth certificate will show that that's a boy or a girl. And then that'll be their record in the school. Right? What do you think? Are you with me? See, of course, we can't do that now because Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and progressive activists for the transgender agenda, Democrats, they've now upended that too, because we don't have birth certificates that define male or female anymore. So that's what makes it challenging. Shoot. All right, we can't do that. All right, one other solution. Just a thought. AOC has no children that have been through sports and athletics in their school, and I don't think she ever played a sport, so she might not know about this. Just a thought, just a hunch. When a child goes out for sports in their middle school or their high school, let's say they have to have a physical exam specifically for participating in sports. Let's call it a sports physical. I come up with that term because it exists. In fact, anyone watching this right now who has children who have played sports in school knows that they already have to do this. Every single child in organized sports in schools has to have a sports exam. And for boys, at least, I know for boys, part of that physical is a hernia check. And let me just say, for the women out there who don't know about a boy's hernia check, it's rather invasive, actually, in the nether regions. Can I say nether regions? Is that all right? Yeah, yeah. Got the thumbs up on that one. Yeah. Oh, trust me. If a boy has a hernia check, there is definitely a genital examination connected to it. And so problem solved, AOC. There's not going to be any genital examinations to determine boys and girls. Whenever we have a hernia check, the doctor will know whether that person should participate in boy sports or girl sports. Done. Solved. Oh, hold on. I know what you're thinking. Wait, that won't work because girls don't get the same kind of hernia check. Oh, they will now. You see, AOC wants to allow biological males to compete as girls in girls' sports. So that means that anyone who wants to compete in sports, even on the girls' team, they're going to have a hernia check because that girl might, in fact, have male genitalia. So, hernia checks for everybody, and then we'll know for sure. Got it?